Boys and girls. David Skinner asked that I must make a short video on how we get the ends, the bearings, to turn like that in the bogey. Interesting question, because this was actually quite a bit of a mission to make. A lot of things had to change. But the long and short of it is, and look, the oaks that want to go do something else and want me to get to the point, like one of the oaks said the other day, hey, you can bugger off now because I need to go work, and the longer I take here, the less I have to work. Okay, so what happened was, in the good old days, we made these things out of perspex, and we only had a hole in here where the axle actually ran in. And this was a very, very squeaky and very bad solution. I remember when it started back in the day, that the locals battled to pull these things, and especially outside, we ran for like half an hour and everything was squeaking, squeaky, which drove me up the walls. And then when I started building stuff, I decided I want to put stuff on bearings. And this is the bearing that we use. Okay, I think that center's 3 mil. Oh, I can't even remember, but that's the bearing we use. Okay, these are commercially available. You can go to the corner shop, buy a bread, Coke, and 100 bearings. You know, they're available. All right. And then obviously we had to, from, the sort of just have a hole in the axle. This is a locomotive one. This is one of the very first ones. We started printing it like this with a bearing housing on the inside. I pick up power from these on the locos. There's a wire going into it, so I pick up power through here as well. But I'm not going to strip a bogey now just to show you. The side frames on the wagons look the same. It's got like a cap like this where the bearing presses in. Now, if you look at this X17 I got here, this has got the Sarcast bogies. You see there, which was bush bearings, so everything there was locked solid, so you didn't have to turn anything or whatever. And I had an axle. All my axles were like this. And the shank looked like that. She was a short shank because we didn't need anything, Bearing goes over, and that's the end of that. So all we had at the end of the day here was, I can't work through a phone. Let me just see like that. So that was what you had at the end. There's not enough to put anything on. There's not enough flesh there. So old Gordon that makes my wheels down in Cape Town, I spoke to him and I said to him, yes, I know I'm going to stuff you on. Can you change the drawing? Can you give us a slightly longer shank? And also keep the old one so that if we do have to do Sarcast bogies, we have the shorter axle. And he said, yeah, man, no problem. So this was the new axle. Now you can see 3 mil on the side. We added 3 mil on the side. So now your bearing goes on there. Rikus, jy moet net sê jy sukkel. Now your bearing goes on there and you have that much left there. Then we changed the bogies, as you can see here, and we printed this bit here open, okay, just with the axle housing there. The bearing sits now inside there, you see, sits inside this bit here, and then that axle sticks to it. Now you see we put some washers in here because we don't want sideways plate, because we put separately applied brakes on. And me being me, I want that to be prototypically as close to the wheel as we can. Sometimes they're a little bit too close and the wagon needs to run in, which this one needs to do still. That's very, very close. All right, so you had your bearing housing and then your axle sticking through, And then we just printed these babies, which is the bearing cap in, and that now just goes with a little bit of super glue onto the axle once it's in the bogie, and then that gets glued there. Only thing with this is it needs to go in afterwards, and boy oh boy, it needs to go in dead straight. So we printed it very, very tight. You know, if I press it over here, you can feel I actually need to press it in there a bit. So it's very tight. And the main reason why we made this so long is that if we do put this on there, that it goes on dead straight, that it guides it straight, because the tolerance here, you can see there where it turns, is minute. It's right against the edge there. And we've had some of them that we had to redo this, you know, reprint, because sometimes there's a little burr or whatever. Look, they will run in, but yeah, so you got to be very careful with the way it goes on. So that's basically it. It's simple. It's just a longer axle, and you know, 3 mil on the side. So the only problem with that is that now you can see there, we need to obviously carry 2 axles in stock, one for the Sarcast, one for the Spoor Barbers, and these later ones that's on the LA3. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, you can see how we do the bogies, how they get attached. See the brakes are separately applied onto the trapezium here. One day is one day. I still want to, this shaft here, print the trapezium with a loop and make this that you can actually pull the brake closer. But this rondneuk, boys, that is not supposed to typically lovely, but can you imagine working brakes? Yes. A little servo in the middle there, zip, zip, and you just pull it. So yeah, that's basically how we did it. So it's not rocket science, but you got to have a very specific axle for it. You got to redo an axle, and then everything will be hunky-dory. Okay, I hope that answers your question. If there's anything else, just shout. Okay, dudes, later. Bye.